Hello and welcome to another episode of the Extra End in partnership with Absolute Grass Care, specialists in sports turf management and commercial maintenance. Visit www.absolutegrasscare.co.uk for more information. First things first, hope you are all safe and well out there. Hopefully not much longer now until there's a little bit of a lockdown, they move the lockdown restrictions and we can get out a little bit more. But today's guests are from Bowls, Wales. We've got Chair of Directors Alan Jones and Development Manager Claire Joll. And a big warm welcome to you both.
Thanks very much.
Also, we've got our regular co-host, Mr. Chris Wright. How's your week been, mate? Any good?
Yeah, not bad. Another week in lockdown done. Another week of work. Hopefully back to normality soon.
Yeah, well, that's right, mate. Yeah, who knows? Right, okay, so we've had a couple of greens sent our way, and we didn't do it last week, so we're going to catch up. So over to the first one we got on our list. I think that's Bryn Hyfryd of Neath. Looking nice, and also maintained by our sponsors, Absolute Grass Care. What do you reckon, mate? Any good? Nice? Looking good?
Yeah, looking lovely. Home of West Glamorgan, I think. Bowls,
that's right, it is, yeah.
Bowls County, yeah.
It is, that's right. I played on Ring 1 year, many moons ago. We got, this is Lantrisant. Now, this used to look absolutely awful and play awful, but that's coming along really nice, I think. I think that's going to be one of the most improved greens in Cardiff, that. Very decent. Next one, Abertillery, I believe.
Yeah, home of Junior Bowls.
Yes.
Junior section.
Yeah, fantastic junior section here. Claire, you might be interested in later on in speaking about Abertillery. They've got a brilliant youth section and a great setup. Llansamel, is that right?
Is that what you say there?
What?
Yeah.
Alan will know.
Alan, how do you say that?
Llansamel.
Oh, there you are. My Welsh is fluent. And there is the home of bowls at the moment, Llandrydnod Wells. We got
Green's looking
Tenby.
nice.
Yeah, look at Tenby looking nice as well. Tenby on the left-hand side, and our local Cardiff side, Whitchurch, with a flag out on the green. Look, and that's another one that's looking much better than it was last year. A bit like Pennyland, where the areas around the edges were shocking. I mean, that was looking awful last year, but that's starting to look really, really nice compared to it.
Always been a tricky green to play, Whitchurch has.
Very tricky, yeah. That's why Richie Osborne joined there.
Yeah, suits him. Suits his rock and rolling.
There you are. Okay, so that's around the greens. Thanks for sending in those photographs. Keep them coming, and maybe not just of your greens. Send in some pictures of whatever you're doing on lockdown, even if it's your clubhouses. I mean, I don't know. Send anything in. We'll show them. All right. Okay. So as we said earlier, we got Bowls Wales on the show now. This is this week's theme, and they're kind of a little bit of an enigma, if you ask me, but this is why we invited them both on the show, and we've got to thank them for coming on the show. So, Alan, if I could start with you. Now, first there was the WBA, the Crown Green, then came along the indoor, then the visually impaired and short mat, etc., and each of them creating their own national governing body. Then the Welsh Bowls Federation was formed to improve communications between the NGBs and act as a centralised coordinating body for bowls in Wales. And then I suppose under the directive of Sports Wales, Bowls Wales was introduced to us in 2017. So Al, if you could you please give us an explanation as to who Bowls Wales are, why it was formed, and what progress have you made since its inception?
Okay, if I just go back a little bit in history now. As you said, national governing bodies came along, and Sport Wales wanted to try and rationalise the process of dealing with bowls as an entity, and they wanted one point of contact. So in around year 2000, the Welsh Bowls Federation was set up when all these different national governing bodies and service associations met, and one of the lead persons at that time was Gareth Humphreys, assisted by Lynn Perkins amongst others. and they formed a federation which would be the first point of contact for Sport Wales for the game of bowls. Now, the federation at that time then was made up of delegates from each of the national governing bodies and service organisations. And that went on for a number of years, and the funding then from Sport Wales was going to, in the first instance, the Welsh Bowls Federation, and then the allocation, which was preset by Sport Wales, would be allocated to the national governing bodies. Now that evolved for up to, I think it was 2015, when obviously there's pulls on the resources from Sport Wales, from all the major sports, necessitating then each individual sport to put forward a funding application. There were also other criteria that they had to meet in order to have funding, and it was felt that at that point in time, being 2015-16, Sport Wales had a chat with the Federation and said, do you really think that you're still fit for purpose? You were one of only two, excuse me, there's a phone going in the background a minute. It was only one of two of the top 23 sports in Wales that was an unincorporated body. So a decision was taken, we'll set up a pilot committee, 2 years we look to have an incorporated body, and hence 2 years' time, that's when Bowls Wales was formed. Now, in the interim period, pilot committee was set up, representatives from all the national governing bodies, service organisations sat down. They also signed up to the Governance Leadership Framework for Wales, which is a review that was undertaken of all sports organisations. They decided that moving forward, they'd move to a board that would be appointed on a skills-based basis, so that all the NGBs were as one. They then sat down, agreed articles of association for the company, and the company was registered in June of 2017. Again, that was then the recognised body by Sport Wales for the game of bowls. So that's how it evolved quite quickly for you.
So the major fact then, as far as I can see then, is it down to Sport Wales recognising one body for funding? Is that right?
Yeah, we're the conduit, shall we say. The funding application goes in via Bowls Wales to Sport Wales. But the funding application is representative of the needs of all the member associations, NGBs and service organisations. So you submit a plan and request funding to actually implement that plan. So
every NGB can submit a plan, and then do you, as the umbrella sort of organisation, do you pick and choose which goes through, or do you push them all through and see what happens?
No. Let me just give you a little bit of a breakdown now of how Bowls Wales sits as an organisation. We've got a board of directors which are responsible for running the business. That board is underpinned then by focus groups that we have. The focus group, there's one for performance, there's one for development, there's one for communication, and there's one for risk. Now, the majority of the funding we get is for performance. Now, we have representatives from the national governing bodies to sit on the performance group with the aim of coming up with a performance plan, etc. And that is the basis by which we apply for funding.
So, okay, so you're talking about Commonwealth Games as the pinnacle for the funding, so they can then go towards and win medals like they did last time. So the funding is basically towards an elite, or am I not correct in saying that?
Things have changed. I mean, Sport Wales are currently reviewing their strategy. historically, a lot of the funding that was allocated to sports was KPI driven. They were looking at the number of clubs you had, the number of individuals you had playing the game, the breakdown of seniors, juniors, etc. And what they were asking you for was a lot of statistics. You're currently at what's your target, and then they were also looking for what's your calendar of events, how did you achieve last year, what's your target for next year. That is evolving. They're now looking at collaborating with sports, with national governing bodies on how you can enhance athlete performance. So it's more to do with performance driven, even a performance pathway, for example.
Yeah.
And what's your rationale about making your athletes better?
Okay, so I mean, am I going to ask a question? How much funding did you get? Am I allowed to ask that? How much funding did you get? Yeah, how much? Okay, say last year, how much funding do you get for anything? You know, what's the breakdown?
Last year we had 123,000 in total. 100,000 was allocated performance and 23 for development.
And that 100,000 went towards what?
Well, the 100,000 was ring fence for performance. Now, that was allocated to the performance plan that was on the table at that particular time. Now, how it's distributed is what element of that is required by each individual national governing body. So an allocation is given to them out of the 100K.
Right, okay. So let's say, for instance, 25,000 went to outdoor balls. Yeah, so their performance channels. Now, what money would that cover? Or can you answer that? Is that down to the NGB, I suppose, is it?
Excuse me. With regards to last year, this is a step change now about trying to get it athlete focused, etc. Traditionally, it was going on a calendar of events, and that was going on for years. Step change, we had to start somewhere, and the group looked at what is our calendar of events, what is the priority that we see within that calendar of events, what is desirable, what is essential, and then the cost was allocated to each of those. And that's how it went out.
Right, okay. Chris,
in regards, sorry, just to jump in, in regard to obviously the grants that clubs have been able to get, would have that come out of the £123,000 budget?
No, I think Claire got it, yeah.
No, that's additional.
Yeah, so obviously the grants are available to clubs currently are Sport Wales grants, so they're completely separate to any funding that we get. There's a pot of money that Sport Wales has set aside for basically this emergency relief fund or Place for Sport fund or community chest or development grant. So it doesn't affect Bowls Wales fund at all. It's obviously a pot that any club can apply for.
Okay,
yes.
Superb, that's good.
So yeah,
in regards to the 123,000, how does that get split between the different NGBs? Is it based on numbers? Number of members affiliated to that body, or is it just split evenly right across the different ones? As in ground green, short mat and that.
I mean, this was a decision that was thrown around by the performance group. Now, the individuals that sit on the performance group are representatives from each of the national governing bodies. So they're actually coming with their program of events to sit down and have a look at what events or what sort of training plan they have in place for a 12-month period. I think one of the bases by which the allocation last year was done was whether it's a national tournament, whether it's an international tournament, whether it's Commonwealth Games training, etc., etc. I think there was a weighting system given to the events that they were attending, and that's how the funding was allocated.
Al, can I just touch on one issue that I've heard of, and I won't dwell on too much about this, you may not know it, but the ladies applied through this funding to travel to Australia before the Worlds to practice or to, to set up a test match against Australia. Yeah. And they were denied to do that because they were outvoted. Am I right? Am I right in saying that?
That was a decision taken again by the performance group. Recommendations come from the performance group to the main board.
Right.
But obviously the main board is going to take the recommendation of the performance group because you've got the experts sitting on the performance group, all the national governing bodies.
Yeah.
And the decision was taken there that it was felt that rather than go, say, for example, on a training program at one particular time of the year, they felt that it would be more beneficial to the athletes to have an additional week prior to the World Championships, and I mean prior to it, a week or 2 weeks before, so that they would go, instead of going out a week before, they would go out 2 weeks before, train for 2 weeks prior to the World Championships. And that was a decision taken by that group.
Could I ask who sits on the performance group, just for the benefit of the viewers?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Okay. The representatives from all the national governing bodies. And in the main, as it stands at the moment, it's the majority of the team managers.
Team managers, that's right. Yeah. So basically the team managers of each NGB, yeah. Yes. Okay, that's fair enough. That's good.
Do you find though that a lot of the confusion, regarding the Welsh bowling community not really knowing what Bowls Wales is stems from the fact that you've got Bowls England and you've got Bowls Scotland, and they just seem to be the one body that controls the whole of bowls in England and Scotland, and that's why people get caught up with it. That's why people ask, well, why isn't Bowls Wales the NGB, I suppose, if for everything in Wales?
Yeah, I mean, whether that's down to something that we need to address, that we don't make ourselves visible or loud enough, whether it's not transmitted clearly to the individual bowler. I mean, we've got another level compared to, say, Scotland and England, where Bowls Wales sits there, but our members, first and foremost, are the national governing bodies. The clubs themselves are members of the national governing body. So you've got another tier there at the moment.
Yeah, that's right.
What we're so keen on getting is the national governing body to buy into the concept of sitting on these focus groups to bring their expertise and knowledge to the table so that what comes in front of the board is really meaningful and reflects how their members feel.
Have moves gone towards creating that focus group then, Al?
I'm sorry?
Are there moves in place? Have they been asked to do that at all, or is this focus group you just mentioned, is it in place, or are we a way off?
Each of the focus groups now that sit there have an agreed terms of reference.
Yeah.
What is the aim, is the objective of the group?
Yeah.
That is determined by the group itself.
I think in all fairness, it's been quite well documented. How the WBA feel towards Bowls Wales. And it's a real shame because we all need to be working together for the greater good of our game. And I do feel that what you guys are doing when you see all the funding going out to clubs, helping them with relief from flooding and all that, it does show the good work you guys doing. And I suppose as you said in your last comment, Al, maybe you do need to just get out there a bit more, in terms of showing what you do, make yourself more visible, and I know it's difficult, because of obviously the pushback, but the work that you guys do is very good, and it brings the funding some clubs have received from Bowls Wales and Sport Wales has really done some great work, as I've seen my fans club, Barry Romley.
Yeah, I mean, can I bring Claire in again, because I think what we need to differentiate is the grant that Bowls gets from Sport Wales, which is 100k for performance, and 23 for development. And I think Claire's got a couple of figures there on additional funding that's been given to bowls in the last couple of months. I think the relationships that we've been able to build up over a number of years now with Sport Wales, you know, and individual officers and sections there, I think it's a sport that they really do want to support.
Yeah.
Now we want to, you know, to put good plans in front of them. I'm sure that they will support us. Okay, Claire, do you want to give them some?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I guess it goes back to what we said about kind of visibility, because that was one of the things when I started, was coming from obviously a different sport. I was kind of just more shocked that people weren't applying for kind of your basic community chess grants, which are £1,500 towards kind of equipment and coach education. And, you know, so I was like, okay, hang on, you know, how can we help you? And that was one thing I wanted to do. So in the last year alone, you know, we've had an increase of 27% of clubs applying for community chess, and that's just obviously one funding stream. We were the kind of third highest for the Place for Sport fund, but that was that £1 million pot that Sport Wales released last year. And obviously good news is they're releasing it again. So I expect, and obviously I keep telling Sport Wales that, you know, expect more bowls clubs to come in. It's just kind of spreading that message out there that this fund is there and this is what it's for. And then if you take the emergency relief fund, we're kind of in the top 5 sports to come in for this application, and we've got a really successful rate. So, you know, I obviously know the kind of fund is there and it's for an emergency use, but our bowls clubs are coming in and being honest in what they need it for, and actually Sport Wales are providing them with that fund. So it's been really good in terms of supporting clubs. Obviously myself and Sophie help clubs with applications, so kind of daily phone calls, what can I apply for, how can I do it? So, you know, we're helping clubs through the online platform, but it's just really good to see so many clubs coming forward and having that interaction. But with that, we're having regular daily kind of conversations with the NGBs. So for us, it's been really positive in that, you know, this isn't a great situation, and obviously kind of, you know, we'd wish that everyone could play bowls, but in terms of building relationships for us and NGBs, this has been really positive. And obviously we just continue to work together now in terms of kind of applications that come in. You know, we're not doing it in isolation. We are reaching out to say, you know, these are your clubs as well, so support us, and obviously we'll support you. So it's been really positive from that front.
If I could touch on that communication aspect then, what you're mentioning, what avenues do you go out to try and contact these clubs in? I noticed you've got a Twitter feed, you know, you have a newsletter on your website and everything. What else are you doing to try and reach out to those clubs?
So our communication structure at the moment is anything we send goes to the NGBs first, and then we ask the NGBs to pass it on to their secretaries, their clubs. So we're making sure we're kind of covering all bases, just in case, you know, people are not on social media. Like you said, we've got our Twitter, we've got our Facebook, our newsletter now. We've got clubs that have signed up themselves to our newsletter, as opposed to receiving it through the NGB as well. So again, we send that out weekly. So we're just trying to kind of cover all grounds. Our number has been obviously on every newsletter. So, you know, we extended our support with regards to the survey that we did, you know, just in case, you know, we don't exclude anyone. So if anyone that hasn't got access to a computer, etc., they can pick up the phone to me or Sophie. So we've taken quite a lot of calls over this period. So I'd like to say we covered most bases, you know, and I'm sure if we could, we'd love to kind of send letters, because I know that's been a request in the past, but obviously this is not realistic at this point in time. So yeah, so emails, phone calls, and obviously our social media platform. And that, again, that was one thing I wanted to kind of change when I came on board, was use that presence a lot more. And we have really good engagements with our social media. We're really lucky that one of our board directors focuses on kind of social media and looks at our platforms and how well our posts are doing, and obviously we can track that then moving forward.
I think I know quite a good podcast that will help you as well, Claire, but I'll get back to you on that. Claire, if I can, okay, that's the communication aspect of it. Now, you're the development manager for Bowls Wales. Do you want to breathe, or are you okay?
Okay.
So
I know.
I know, yeah, well then. So yeah, like I said, you are the development manager of Bowls Wales. Your background, or you've had a development career with Welsh Netball. So what ideas, experience can you bring into our game? What has already been implemented? And basically, what's your vision for the future development of our game in Wales?
I guess in terms of my background, like I said, I was with netball for 7 years. It was kind of my passion, hence why I stayed there for so long. But what's really kind of similar is just the sport in terms of the passionate people. You know, people I've met. You know, I guess people are like, oh, have you had any kind of bad experience? Actually, everybody I've met has been lovely and really welcoming. And I think, you know, we are ready for some kind of change in that, you know, bringing bowls to younger kids. And I guess that's where I'm coming from, is that, you know, bowls is for everyone, and that's our vision of as Bowls Wales, is bowls is a sport for all. But we need to kind of use that all and actually give everyone the chance to experience bowls. You know, I've gone to festivals and multi-sport festivals previously, and bowls has never featured on any kind of platform. So it's really taking it back to basics, I guess, to say, you know, we are a sport that anyone can play. It is fun. There's a bowls club in every community, and really just showcasing, you know, that anyone can access it. So we've been working with local authorities, so in particular Sport RCT, Sport Cardiff and Sport Caerphilly, to deliver bowls in schools, and we've had really good kind of feedback. So we use a student from USW to kind of monitor that progress as well. So I think from about January to March, maybe we delivered about 500 kids bowl sessions. So that's a mix of festivals and actually going into schools. I know you mentioned earlier Abertillery, and obviously I've worked with Abertillery previously to help either with funding, but also they've helped me in terms of kind of kids bowls and how that looks, and how to make it more fun and engaging. So, you know, I've worked with Jamie and we've put together a little program, and that's what's been delivered in Sport Caerphilly schools. And obviously the kids love it, and that's the feedback we get, is that they actually love it and they want to engage. It's now then, how do we make that a regular feature in their competitions calendar? You know, and it is starting at the opposite end, I guess, to our a stereotype, if you want to call it, because everyone thinks of bowls is an old man's game, which is, and that completely obviously surprised me coming in, being a non-bowler, how far from the truth that is. You know, and I guess that's one thing I want to do as well, is just change the perception of bowls. So, you know, in terms of our branding, in terms of generic posters, how we sell ourselves basically. So it's just moving, if you want to call it, with the times, and putting us out there, and kind of just, you know, we are one of the biggest kind of membership sports, and I think people forget that as well. So compared to obviously your football, your rugby, but again, you know, in terms of membership, we are really kind of up there with the top. But obviously we know there's room for growth, and that's where, you know, the kind of, for me, the growth is at your opposite end, and how can we best support that. So, you know, for me, it's partnership work. You know, hence why I try not to do anything in isolation. It is, you know, reaching out to local authorities, because they have either staff, or they have funding, or they have expertise. And, you know, everyone I've gone to so far is really positive, and especially clubs I've been working with in Cardiff. I work with John O'Brien, trying to get the kids bowls leagues up and running. You know, we're going through a development grant. So, you know, there's some really good work going out there, and there's some really passionate people who want to make a difference. So for me, that's just been, I guess, the similarity in sports, you know, coming from netball and into bowls. So for me, it's only been positive, and the changes may be small, but we have had some really good impacts. You know, kind of the partnership that we created with Stroke Association. For me, that's the value of sport. You know, I guess some people might be, why are we going down that avenue? Again, it's a sport for all. And the experience that we can create is not just that about sport, it's the bigger picture. You know, I've gone along to some of the sessions in Cynnon Valley that we've got one of our stroke survivor sessions there. You know, and I kind of get blown away every time, because their progression is incredible. But again, it's more than sport. You know, they then come down on a Saturday to want to watch the boys play. you know, because they played and they talked about
That's
it on
what
the
it's all
TV.
about.
Yeah, and that for me is just taking kind of bowls. Yeah, that's the sport, but it's so much more than that. It's the social side. So, you know, we have had some, I guess, some really good things happen this year, and obviously I want them to continue now moving forward. So we'll continue with our partnership with Stroke Association. Obviously, I'm not sure what's going to happen in terms of school bowls at the moment, or festivals and things,
True,
or
yeah.
you know, but you know, again, they're there, and we know they're kind of working at the moment. So we'll continue to move forward with them. I guess from my point of view, that anything we do is not kind of plucked out of the air. We make sure there's research behind it. So with regards to school bowls, the reason we went on that avenue is because from the school sports survey, there were 16,000 kids that said they'd like to try bowls. For me, you know, that's a lot of kids that say they want to try bowls, so let's give them the opportunity to experience it. So that's where, in terms of any work we do at the moment, is kind of focused from research as well.
On a performance side of things, I know you said you watched a couple of shows. Now, Chris works really hard on introducing new formats to the game. He's got a very successful Super 8 tournament, which he organised himself. Now, you know, my first question is, why is it left to players to introduce these new formats amongst all the clubs and to the NGBs? We sat down recently, we created a national league. Now, we must be the only sport in Wales without its own national league. So when you talk about national league, Claire, and youth, you know, and I haven't thought about this until now. You've got your structure in place, you've got your national level, you've got your regional level. There's nothing stopping us now creating a youth development league, you know, to get the youngsters really involved, you know.
Chelsea,
so, you know, so when you look at that league structure, it's not about, oh yeah, let's just get the big league in because we want to play the top level. It's about the old pyramid system. So it incorporates every club at their level, and they'll find their own level eventually. You know, they maybe not be good enough for the top, but then they might be winning leagues they want to, and then stay in the regional level. It's up to them. But there is a chance to incorporate a junior development league as well. You know, what are your thoughts on a national league? You know, especially Netball's got a super league, isn't it? I mean, it's really taken off, isn't it? I'm not saying we will, but what's your opinions on a national league?
I guess if you take netball, obviously it's taken them years to get to that point as well. Sure. And I guess it comes down to kind of feedback and, you know, reviewing things. And of course, you know, if they work, if they don't, you know, I think that's kind of just getting used to that constant, you know, that cycle. Is that only because something's worked for so long doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So I would say that it needs to be reviewed. And maybe that is something that's going to be implemented maybe in the future, but obviously that would be down to the NGB to look into. You know, and if they required support, then obviously I'd happily support where I can. I guess that doesn't really sit under my remit currently.
No.
Mine's more.
The reason why I asked you is it was the development of the youth. You know, we could incorporate that, and then you got a point of call to go to every week and see how they're getting on. That's just the idea I just go with.
Do you find though that, you know, I know obviously you say, you know, any decision, you know, changes in Welsh bowls, you know, across all the formats, but do you feel that with this unprecedented time that we've now got is the absolute perfect opportunity to mend any, you know, breakdown in communications between you and the NGBs, you know, and really change bowls? Because I know obviously, Claire, you know, you're on board, and obviously when you've got people like yourself and Jamie and that go into schools, it does sort of break down the stigma that surround bowls, that it's all for, you know, older people. But, you know, do you feel now is a time to, you know, strike, we have this unique time to make those changes, to make bowls a success and bring participation numbers going forward? Either of you, that's open to either of you.
Go on, Al. Give Claire a rest.
I mean, obviously, unprecedented times. The number of phone calls for different reasons it's just been incredible in the last, say, 2 months. And you know, and that's not going to stop. That's going to continue. And I think it's an ideal opportunity to build on this good communication that we're having. As Claire said, I mean, we're having funding from Sport Wales, which is having an immediate plus or positive effect with clubs. And, you know, that is helping with sustainability in the short term. I mean, there's another resilience fund that is in the pipeline following on from the emergency relief fund. And I think that's looking at medium and long-term benefits to clubs. I think this is the time now to look at the needs of individual clubs. If we can look at it as a collective, it would be even better. If they could have their representatives within various national governing bodies sitting around the table with us. I mean, let's have a united front on this. Let's go forward. I mean, with regards to the National League that you mentioned, that's really started debate going, hasn't it? You know,
yeah.
as everybody said, just because it's been going for so long doesn't mean, oh, that's the right way to do it. There should be continual review. As Claire said, when they change the structure in netball, let's review it. You know, let's have a look. What fits best for Wales? You know, what improves the game? What improves individual enjoyment? What can you do with regards to distance? You've still got the social and recreational bowler there. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah.
You can't leave any one part, you know, out. You know, with regards to development, I think the development that Claire is talking about is to get, say, first-time bowlers into the system. You know, but they still have to be catered for. Let's get this player pathway, for example. If you were to say to the performance group, if we're going to increase participation and individuals are coming in at a particular level, should we be putting them into an age group and they get categorized that way? How does that feed into a player pathway? And how do they get the most they possibly can out of the game, whether it be purely social, recreational, or competitive?
I think player pathways are the only way forward, Al. I've said this for ages.
Yeah.
You know, where they start, when I used to play rugby, I knew exactly what road I was going to go on. It's not there in bowls. It's okay, yeah, you play for your club, you get selected for under 25s, then you're lost in the system for a bit, then you become good enough to play for Wales. There's no pathway that these kids can have a look at and say, I want to get to that level, then I want to get to that level, then I'm there. You know, ideally, obviously, Commonwealth Games. There's nothing there. And I think
that's why they drop out of the game.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why we lose members.
I mean, there's a lot of my personal feelings coming out in this as well. And, you know, I'm really passionate about bowls, you know what I mean? I started when I was 10. I was fortunate, you know what I mean?
Blimey now.
No, and now I'm 37.
Balls on a run then, you liar.
You wouldn't guess, would you? You know, and I'm still passionate about it.
Yeah. You beat Francis Drake in that game, didn't you?
No, extra end it was.
No, but I get that, Al. You know, I remember, obviously, you know, like myself and you, you know, had a conversation last year at Merthyr West End Bowls Club. You know, you come up and, you know, supported the Super 8 finals day, and, you know, and we had a really good chat. And you know, it's the one thing that comes across is that you are very passionate for the game. Just final question from me: is there anything that, you know, when you introduce Bowls Wales, you know, as a business or organisation, you know, is there anything that you've set out to do that you found you failed in, or there's been any roadblocks in the way?
Well, I think I'm always guarded. I don't want to be seen, or we don't want to be seen to be stepping on people's toes. We're not here to take over from anything that's already there. We're there to help them. We're there to enhance, you know, the national governing bodies in some way. I mean, because of the makeup of the board is skills-based, there are individuals on there that could really help if the door was open.
Absolutely.
We're not trying to take over, we're there to help our members. And I think, I don't know, it's not going as fast as I'd like it.
No,
yeah.
they were my next words out of my mouth. I can't see any change in the last 5 years, really, you know, really important change, you know, because there have been stumbling blocks. And whether there's clashes, I don't know what. But there seems to be these ideas floating around. They're never implemented, and the buck has to stop somewhere. And I don't know, you know, we all have our sort of theories of where it stops and everything, but I just wish everyone get together and make these changes, because my personal opinion, the game is getting stale.
We've got enough Zoom screens for up to 20 people, and we, Mark, we'll get them all on the show. Crash it out.
Crash it all out, yeah. Online meeting, way forward.
No, but I totally agree. You know, I think the one progress that it has made is, you know, obviously all the funding, you know, making clubs aware more of, you know, the community chess funding, which I think probably a lot of clubs up until 2-3 years ago had never heard of. You know, so I think that has played a big difference, and you've seen, you know, the way clubs have used the money to develop themselves, you know, especially in a time where councils are cutting back on you know, maintenance of greens and that money has come handy. So, you know, that has been one great aspect. But, you know, I think, you know, the most important thing, like we said, is you guys have provided, you know, clarification on your roles. And people got a lot more understanding, hopefully, from this of what you guys do, what you're there for, and hopefully now, you know, you can have the impact on Welsh Bowls that, you know, that we all want you to guys have, and you know, that we need. And
yeah, rightly spot on there. And I think, no, I had a chat with Claire before this show. You know, she can believe that Bowls have got their own podcast show. You know, and like I keep saying, me and Righty, we know Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid, no chance. You know, we haven't got a clue. We're as nervous as anyone doing this, but we're giving it a whirl. And thankfully, people have, you know, give us great feedback, etc. And it's promoting the game in the right way. You know, we're not here to slate anyone. We don't want that. We just want to you know, progress the game. You know, and even if, you know, we get Bowls Wales on, we get the NGBs on, and if, you know, I know we're sort of separate, but if that helps the game, then we're doing something. And if we can help you guys promote anything that you're doing, then please feel free to contact us anytime. You've got our numbers, you've got our email addresses, and if we can help in any way, shape or form, we certainly will.
Definitely.
Thank you. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, thank you. And obviously, in terms of some of the work we do, it is great to get a message out there. I guess kind of where we're currently at, though, is that our relationship over the last couple of weeks in terms of being in lockdown has really kind of progressed, and obviously a massive kind of thanks to our general manager, who has been kind of the front of communications with the NGBs daily, if not hourly sometimes, because we are passing the message on. And I guess that's what it comes down to sometimes, is just a breakdown in communication, where I think we've got better at that. And obviously if we can use this platform again to send out messages to clubs, to members, you know, that's great for us, you know, and that's all we want to do, is probably send the message out and get messages out there. So for us, you know, obviously thank you for the offer.
That's fine. No, we're more than willing to help out.
Alan?
I think it's great that we've had this window to try and get our message across. And if there are any individuals or clubs out there that want further clarification, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our contact details are on the newsletter. We've got an inquiry email address as well. And we are here to try and help our members. And the members are the NGBs and members of NGBs.
We'll put all the contact details in the bio underneath, won't we, Mark?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. If you email us all the contacts, we'll put it up on with the link with the show and everything, and we'll keep sending out to our listeners as well. So, yep, not a problem. Guys, thanks very much indeed for your insight there. We're just going to finish off now, Chris. We got our virtual Carruthers Shield tournament going on at the moment. It's reached the semi-final stages now. We're not going to cover that on this show. Instead, we're going to have a special one-off edition, the semi-final edition, which we will record on Friday. But Chris, if I just share this, we got a slightly different format now of voting, haven't we?
Yeah, so we've got our website going live now, the Xtra website, as you can see there. And this is the forum page. So we will be posting the polls on there. Guys, you can also post on there. It's like the old school Swansea Bulls. The good thing is as well, you can actually post behind a different name, so you can slag people off as much as you want. You know, I know I'll be making the most of that, but no, we're only joking. But obviously, it's been set up there to stir debate, healthy debate. How to improve the game. All set into different sections. And obviously, we will post, a link to there, how people will vote on Saturday's game. Just to confirm, the semi-finals are this Saturday, and the draw will be done on our podcast on Friday, and the final will be taking place next weekend. Correct, Mark?
That's correct. And we've also asked each team to submit their teams for the semi-finals.
I've got them.
And then we'll be covering the matchups on that show. But just to touch on that Xtra End forum, you can view it as a non-member. But if you want to post, you have to be a member. So please join us. The more the merrier. And then, we can start using this for general chat, sort of Crothers Shields and the future private greens. We even got a greenkeepers section. We got an umpire section. And we'll just keep adding to it as it progresses. Okay, so Chris, I think that's the end of the show. You got anything more to say?
No, we'll discuss the politics of the Virtual Crothers on Friday.
We certainly will. Guys, thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.